we go, my friends. Here's the thing. Negotiation. It's not about money. Some of y'all probably saying, but that's how I negotiate, Dan. Not today. Today, we're going to talk to Marcus Chan, a sales expert. And I am excited for this show because Marcus and I go way back, but we're going to talk negotiation above and beyond price.
Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Sales Chatter. As I said, negotiation is a big topic, right? We all go through it as logistics sales professionals. We go through it every day. Anyone in sales, really anyone in life, you're negotiating, whether it be with your kids, whether it be with family members, whether it be with parents, whatever it is, we're negotiating it all the time. And Marcus, thank you for being here, brother. I just want to start by saying, you know what, after close to 5 years, I think we'll be going on year 5 this year because we met in 2019. And
I think sounds about right.
Yeah, and just
crazy.
Watching you evolve, my friend. I got a full transparency, like watching you evolve and watching you were always awesome. Don't get me wrong, but watching where you've been and where you've come, I'm just over the moon, happy, excited for you, my friend, and you deserve it. So I just wanted to say that before we even started the show. And
I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, man.
It's one thing that's so good to connect with you, right? It's so good to see you, and I look back and I think we both have grown so much, right, in that time, and it just makes me more excited for the future and what that holds for us.
Yes. Well, we were just talking about that right off air, and here's the thing. I want to dive right into it because I know you're pressed for time today. So let's talk negotiation, brother. Right. One thing I'm seeing more and more, specifically in my industry, maybe you can help expand our horizons, if you will, for myself and the listeners, is, my Lord, man, the more salespeople that come to me and say, I need some help. Okay, talk to me. Tell me your pitch. Like, give me, and it's price. I'm like, why are you guys playing in this commodity market? Like, you wonder why you get customers that treat you like crap because you're selling price. And it's right. Breaking through that mindset. Like, what are you seeing in the overall sales market? Because we're both trainers. I'm in logistics, you're in sales. What are you seeing in the market? What are some strategies that you help customers with, reps with, that can really break through this paradigm of price?
Well, I think the first piece is when you focus only on price, then if that's your only lever to sell, in my opinion, you're not a real salesperson. You're not. You're just a price dropper. Hey, what price do you have? I'm going to beat that price. That's not selling, right? You'll be replaced by AI if that's the only way you sell.
That's a good one, brother, because you will, yes.
That's what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So there's no true value in that. And I also find, generally speaking, because we train reps, whether they're in logistics, to software, whatever, those who generally are selling based off price, they sell how they buy. Meaning, if they themselves in their own lives act very cheap, they don't buy off value, they, as a side effect, whether it's conscious or subconsciously, they sell the same way.
I love that.
And I find they create ways, they create it as an issue where it doesn't have to be an issue. Because reality is when you talk to any true exec who's really running a business, yes, they want a good price, but they care far more about the value being delivered. That's across the board, any exec, right? And when they say it's only about price, if you give them the lowest price, but suddenly, let's say the service is worse, they have tons of issues, bad support, I guarantee they'll start saying, no, we need something else. We'll pay more for that. Yeah. It's always going to be the case. So I think the first piece to understand, it's the mindset of walking into it. And if you yourself are selling purely based off price, you will also naturally use language and wording to make it about price. So for example, these are all these subconscious things. You're having a conversation with a prospect. They seem like they're pretty interested. And you present everything. And when it gets down to you can go over the pricing. Some people say, hey, let me draw up a quote for you. Now, by even the term quote, you're now saying, I want you to compare quotes. Or let me drop a bid for you. let me put together a proposal for you. Because I'm proposing a price point for you. You are subconsciously bringing price as your lever to make the deal happen.
So do you mean that like instead of just saying $2,000,
Mm-hmm.
like when they say, okay, so let's talk price,
Right.
$2,500, that's the price.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
okay, I get it. Yeah. That's
having
actually
confidence
slick,
in it, right?
brother. Yeah.
It's having confidence in what you actually deliver, right? Because it goes to the same point you just made. Let's say it's $2,500. If you're scared and you don't believe in the value your company delivers, you might, even if you did say the price, you might be like, it's $2,500, right?
The
And then
tone changes. Yeah.
right, they'll hear in the tone, they'll see in your body language, they'll kind of see how you respond. It's almost like you got your gloves up, you're ready to defend it. It's making all sense that. Versus having conviction and confidence in what you have to offer. And this is even in something that's highly commoditized. Like, if you think about it, in every industry, even logistics for anything, like telecommunications, great example. Like every industry that's highly commoditized, there's always someone who charges more.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
And how do they exist? How are they able to charge more than everyone else? Because their team is able to showcase the value far exceeds the price point being sold at.
Yeah, like why are iPhones so much more expensive than Android phones?
Right.
Right? Perfect example. I mean, and I think it gets beat to death, but it's a perfect example.
Perfect example. Or like for cell service, right? I know you guys have different vendors up there, but in the U.S., Verizon, generally speaking, is far more expensive than like AT&T, T-Mobile, some of these other carriers. They're way more expensive. Why? Because people are willing to pay for it. That's just it. Like this shirt I'm wearing right now, I buy my shirts in bulk, all right? And it's like $6 a shirt. This same shirt they also sell to other companies that put like a little swoosh on there. They'll charge 10 times the amount, right?
Yeah.
All right? Well, that's just the reality. So it's like,
Yeah.
but people will pay for it because they see the value in it.
So is it a branding thing? Because like I look at if you talk clothing, for example, right? And I won't name the names because I don't think it's fair, but some of the higher priced clothing are garbage. They fall apart in half the time I get my George shirts from Walmart in.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
And I look at these things and I remember as a kid, growing up as a kid, I'd say to my parents, well, I need the Air Jordans. They're like, why? And I'm like, because they're the latest shoe. And they would fall apart in half the time Adidas would. But everybody wanted the Air Jordans because they jumped on the brand bandwagon. So
that's right.
Are you talking more of a brand, or are you talking more of the immediate value the individual brings to the table? So like even Verizon, for example, right? Is it the brand Verizon, or is it the individual plans that say the rep can say, okay, what's your usage? Well, here, we could do this, this, and this, and restructure a plan to work. Like, is it that kind of thing that you're getting at, or?
Well, I think it's a really good point and good question, because there's two pieces to it.
Okay.
There's going to be the brand that could definitely help with that, right? And that's me in some situations. And then there's going to be the other situation where it's going to be a salesperson. Now, as a salesperson, you don't have control on the brand of the company, right? So let's just say if you work for a startup company, nobody knows who you are. Or you work for a no-name company, nobody knows who you are, right? But here's reality. If you look at all the reps of that company, there's always going to be someone who can sell probably at the book price or even charge more because of their skill level on the actual sales call, right? So I'll give you a really, really simple example. So like when I got into the sales training space, like most people would go and they would provide these packages as a group training. I built a far better offer, and my price point's like 4 or 5x, and we're still selling those, right? And this is even nobody knew who I was. Nobody knew who I was, but I was able to showcase the value in my sales process. So in everyone's sales process, like how can you showcase more value? And when you think about this is what I think about when someone's looking to buy anything, we always have a fear of buyer's remorse. So every person, what they're thinking of is like, how can I? When they make a buying decision, they're thinking, how can I increase my upside and decrease my downside?
Yep. How can I raise my status? In other words,
right? Right. They will pay more for that. So, for example, like you could buy healthy food. You can go get a nice gym membership, and it'll be actually not that expensive to actually do that, right? And it'll take you probably years to maybe get into the physical shape you want. Or you can spend $10,000, go get plastic surgery, and you'll look overnight differently.
Yeah. And you'll look like the shape you want to be in.
Right.
Yes.
And it's guaranteed. So it's like when you think about that, like people will pay literally 5, 10 times the amount for certainty. So that's
I like
why when
that.
you think about this, that's what's all about value. So like for example, let's say logistics, right? Like if I was selling, if I could sell guaranteed delivery a certain time or whatever we're selling, versus like something that's cheaper that's like kind of hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna pay more for someone's gonna get guaranteed delivery,
Yep.
right? That's
I
just
had
like
I
it's
had a
like
customer just like that who said, Dan, like here's the situation. They sold signs, so that they were
mhm,
signs for like outside the
yeah,
keg or outside Ruth Chris, like they were high
yeah,
end
yeah,
neon signs. And he
yeah,
says, here's the situation. This is what I need. And I said, well, I'm going to give you guaranteed LTL. And he goes,
yeah,
nobody's ever done that before. I go, I could do it.
mhm,
I go, but there's going to be parameters that we have to understand. So if there's 6 feet left
right,
on the truck, we have to buy all 6 feet. You can't just buy three because it's a 2 foot sign or a 2.5 foot
mhm,
sign. You have to buy all 6 feet, and we'll section it. We'll segregate it. We'll do what we need to
mhm.
do. And that turned out to be a great client for decades. He was awesome because he's like, he
Perfect
knows it's going to
example.
happen. The guarantee was there. We missed a delivery one time, Marcus, and I gave him the load for free, and I gave him like 15% off the next X amount of loads because,
Boom.
again, we had a deal where we'll give you X amount percentage, but it was like
That's right.
$5,500. We covered all his costs for temporary,
Yeah,
like everything, because it's a guarantee. Guarantees are
that's exactly
solid.
it. People will pay more for that certainty, right?
Mm,
So, and again, that depends on, and people buy off certainty. Like it's hard to meet. It's very rare to meet a top performing sales professional who's not certain. Like
that's actually a really good point because I don't think there is any.
there isn't. You'll meet the
Mm,
opposite, which is uncertain reps who have poor performance. So certainty is what sells, right? So how you run your sales process, forget about the branding. That is nice to have, but most are going to have that. So your skill set as a sales professional showcases that you best understand them, and ultimately, like I think the mistake a lot of people make is when they have these sales conversations with their prospects, the prospect on the other side of the table or on the other side of the Zoom call doesn't feel like they're being heard or understood by the sales professional. So the better you can actually understand them, the better you can showcase your value, the higher value they're going to see you, the more likely they are willing to pay a higher price because there's a high level of certainty in what you're offering.
I love that. I love that. I think that's a game changer, Marcus, because 30 years of sales, I never thought of it in that respect. But as you're speaking, I'm listening to you, and then I start, your mind starts transitioning back to deals and what you've done, and it's like that certainty was paramount. It was actually like the
Mm-hmm.
nucleus of the sale is
Mm-hmm.
I can make this happen for you. Let's
That's right.
go. Let's do it.
Exactly.
And here's my timeline
Mm-hmm.
to kind of get it done. Let's make sure that's in the books and done. Like
That's right.
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna rock it. And I, I I honestly don't think you could sell, like, unless you sell price. You're not selling unless you have certainty. Because why are
100%.
they buying it? Everybody buys something to produce a result, right? To get the end
That's right.
result that they're looking for,
Exactly.
right? If you were, you go back to that plastic surgery thing. If there was no guarantees, you said, well, I don't know. You might come out looking the same. You might not. Nobody's paying 10x for that, right?
That's right.
Plain and simple.
That's, I mean, I think that's right. That's all right. So if I go get a delicious, okay,
My fave. It's my fave, buddy.
it's delicious. Okay, so $4.99. Now, if there was another box that was, say, let's call it $2, over half the cost, is way cheaper, but inside it's a gamble if it's Lucky Charms or something else, or some
Yeah.
weird cereal that I don't want to have. I'm gonna happily pay over double to
Yes.
make sure I get my Lucky Charms. Now I can pay less for that, right?
Yeah, and
Now,
even
when I
if they
think
come
about
out and they say it's like lucid charms and you
yeah,
try it
yeah,
once and you realize this is garbage, it's kind of like,
right,
the no name ketchup. It's like you got to get the
totally.
Heinz, or you got, like that kind
Yeah,
of
you
thing.
want you can trust that brand, right? Now I
Yes.
think even from a sales process perspective, so that belief and conviction is key, but that also ties into not just how you speak and how you carry yourself, but everything you do leading up to that point. So like,
Mm.
we've all had people. Here's a good example, right? Like, I've when I'm interviewing and hiring a salesperson, I've seen where they have amazing conviction, they do a great job on the interview, but then maybe after there's no real follow up. I'm like, oh, Or maybe when I'm emailing and trying to get next steps settled, they're taking forever to get back. So what happens is suddenly their actions make me lose confidence and conviction in them, right? So maybe they're good on live, but so I always think it's like everything you do either increases or decreases your win rate. And it's these little things like that that can really either help you or hurt you, right? So like, for example, I remember one time I was working on this opportunity, and this is kind of going to date me a little bit. I was faxing a proposal, really faxing over the proposal, right? Keyword proposal again. You guys,
for all of you watching and listening, those fax machines used to be a thing that looked like a printer on your desk, and you'd actually put a piece of paper in, and it would show up at somebody else's door prior to email. Yes.
Yeah. And I had the cover sheet right. You have a cover sheet, and
exactly.
I totally had like printed out the wrong proposal for somebody else, right? The different pricing. But it was to the cover sheet, the right people. I faxed it over, didn't pay attention. They call me and they say, hey, what the heck? Like, we got your fax. It's for a different company. And it's like way cheaper than us. Instant credibility lost the deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Instantly.
So even though I'd done a great job, or I thought a great job leading on the point, it's those little things, my behaviors, whether we're intentional or not, that actually cause you to lose the deal. It decreases your value as a result. So everything you do either increases or decreases your value or your win rate.
I love that, Marcus. So if you were to give sales reps watching and listening kind of 3 to 5 strategies to A, start moving away from the price conversation, and B, start really focusing on what it is they bring to the table, what would kind of be the first 3? And obviously, I mean, you're talking to a large audience of different variables and different caliber of sales reps. What would be kind of 3 or 5 general things people can take away from this conversation about what to do next? Like, I know my sales, Marcus, like it always seems to come down to price. I'm always seeing the custom prospects always seem to bring up price. So it's got to be me, because I'm the only common denominator in the last 100 people I've spoken to. Mm-hmm. What's the 5 strategies, or 3 or 5 strategies that are really going to help them move?
So we're going to talk about how to elevate your status, right? Because when you know how to elevate your status in the conversation with an exec, you get a better conversations, actually. That's aside from price, all right? And by the way, if you're speaking to like low-level decision makers who can't make a decision, they'll always push you down on price. So strategy number one is proper preparation for that sales call. So the very first sales call, are you doing research on the business? Do you have an understanding of the business, what they're all about? Can you walk them the point of view, what they're probably doing, how you can probably help? Like, just do it. You should never be asking questions like, hey, what do you do here? What would you need our services for? Like, you should have an idea about their business, how they're structured, etc. So walking in with that level of homework when you go in. Number 2, take a look at your discovery process. How are you running a discovery? What type of questions are you asking? Are you asking very price-focused questions like, hey, what vendor do you use? How much do you spend? How much is it per shipment? Those naturally guide you towards price. You want to avoid that. So how can you focus on what they're currently doing and how does it actually help their business? So if they're already using another third party for logistics, right? Why do they have them? How does it help their business? How did they make a buying decision in the past? Why was it important? And if they try to guide you towards price, are you steering them back and say, hey, listen, I understand price is important, but let's put price aside. What else is important for you? And are you guiding towards the true value that service actually has? So this is really key. Like, you want to cover what's most important for them, because if they say, well, it's only just price, okay, cool. So if we give you the lowest price, but things were never on time, they always got lost, would you be okay with that? Well, no, of course not. So help me understand then, price aside, what else is most important for you? So you're always going to be gearing towards like, what's the actual true value of a partnership they had in the past and how you can actually deliver that for you. So you want to spend more time uncovering in their world what's most important, right? Really key. Because now when you present your solution can be tied very close to the value proposition that's most important to them. So that's going to be like part number 3. Just making sure the demo presentation you do is tied very closely to them. All right. Now, the next piece is like when you're going through, let's say, for example, let's talk about objection handling. They say, hey, that is more expensive than we expected, or it's too expensive, or it's cheaper here, it's cheaper there. Again, you control the conversation. So you can either, number one, be weak and say, you're probably right. What price do I need to be at to win the business? Or number two, you actually are effective at handling objections, and you're going to seek to understand first, right? So for example, I teach you a very simple HEART framework. So it sounds simple like this. H, I make them feel heard. Hey, Dan, I appreciate you sharing that. Then I'm going to E, elaborate. Hey, can you help me understand what you mean specifically? And we get them to go deep as possible to really understand what's really on their mind. And then I'm going to go into A, aside from my objections, is there anything else? So, hey, aside from price, aside from X, is there any other reason you wouldn't want to move forward? No, there's not. Then I'm going to go R, we clarify value. Hey, let's put price aside for now. Based on what discussed so far, what have you liked the most? And let's not allow them to resell themselves a value. Now, if you've done a good job on the front end of the process, which I discussed, they're going to say, we love A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. If you've done a good job, which help reframe them back into why it's worth it, right? So then you go to T, transition to a close, in which at that point, depending what you have, let's just say, for example, they're half the cost competitor, right? So now you can start working in between. Like, can you add things, remove things, and maybe you can still get your price up more. So this way, you're not just dropping your pants down to 50% off. Can you meet somewhere in the middle, or even continue to sell the value? So if you do these things consistently as a whole, and you hold strong, and you hold conviction across the process, you will sell larger opportunities, right? But what you can do as well is a little bonus tip. It's probably like tip number 5. I don't know how many tips. I've been just dropping all types of things now.
No, I'm loving it. I'm loving it, brother.
So like, how can you, and this is powerful, like, depending on how competitors price, how can you price yours differently? Meaning, can you do a better bundled pricing or solution? Can you lump things together into a higher value package? So sometimes you can get a little creative. Depending on your company, that can also they can build far more value. So let me give you a really simple example. Years ago, I used to sell restroom services, toilet paper, soap, paper towels, right? The competitors all did the same thing, right? So it's always a price battle. It's like trying to compare like sheets of toilet paper price to someone else is so stupid. It's like a losing game. So what I would do is, because we also offered so many other products and services, as part of my discovery, I was uncovering where they also got different things, from floor mats to aprons to towels to cleaning chemicals to cleaning services, etc. So I would go in, uncover all of these things, and create pain, and I'll offer them a bundled solution that was literally 5 to 6 times the competitor. But because the value proposition was far greater, having a consolidated vendor that could do all these things for them, they're like, yeah, it's no brainer. So suddenly I can go in there, and if they say, hey, it's going to be, they're usually priced like on a weekly basis. Let's just say, for example, competitors $50 a week. Ours now is like $250 a week. I can show all these services and offer at $250 a week, and even if they bulk to the price, I can remove and adjust things, and maybe now suddenly I'm at $150 a week. So 3 times the competitor's price.
Yep.
Offering far more.
Based on your stack.
100%. So you can do the same thing as well. It's like, think about what are the things you can build into a stack in your value proposition, but ask the questions up front so you can have a really powerful stack, so you have more wiggle room to play. Like, the more wiggle room you have, the better it's going to be. I'll give you another example. So a few weeks back, I presented a training solution for a large team, and they told me their budget was $40,000, and this large team ended up being like $260,000 was a package I presented to them. And they almost fell out of their chair. They're like, oh my God, like, that is like, oh, that's like 6 times what we expected. Whoa. And I ran the process I mentioned, right? And, and I knew it'd be way more intentionally, right? But now we have more room to work, right? And now we're going to build like a custom project. It'll probably be like $70K. So we're still almost double their budget that they planned versus the competitors, because of what that did lead up front. So it's like, when we're not, if we're lazy in our sales process, we'll get lazy results. But if we're proactive and intentional, we can build far more value, charge more, and customers will happily pay for it as long as the value is actually there.
I love that, Marcus. That is awesome, brother. I love that. I love the mindset on it. I love the structure. I love the framework you put forward. I love the heart framework. I absolutely love that. I can't wait to implement that. In closing, I want to make sure everybody knows how to get a hold of you, kind of knows where you come from. Obviously, with this going out to multiple channels, share with us kind of how somebody would get a hold of you, some of the services you offer, and let's get some audience members getting a hold of you, man.
Awesome. Awesome. So super easy to find me. I hang out quite often on LinkedIn. So look up Marcus Chan. You can also go to my website, venleyconsulting.com. So typically we offer two main core services. Number one, we work directly with individuals. So salespeople directly, helping them dominate and crush their results, helping them earn an extra 50 to 100K more each year. And we also work with sales teams as well, who also want to double their results as well. So a couple different ways, but head over to venleyconsulting.com and you'll see all my services there, and there's free trains as well if you're not quite ready for that too.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. For all of you watching and listening, here's the situation. Rewind this, watch it again, and study it, because after 30 years, some of the stuff Marcus dropped, I'm implementing in my sales tomorrow. I guarantee that, just as sure as it's going to get dark tonight. End of story. Marcus, thank you for being here, brother. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, my man. Great to see you.